There was a time when the human brain experienced silence, naturally, real silence. No notifications, no 24-hour news cycle, no endless opinions, no scrolling, no constant stimulation entering the nervous system every second of the day. The brain had space to process, space to reflect, space to recover. Now compare that to modern life. From the moment many humans wake up, the brain is under attack. Phones, messages, emails, videos, music, advertising, social media, breaking news, podcasts, TV, arguments, opinions, information, constant input. And what's interesting is most people now think that level of stimulation is normal, but it isn't. The human nervous system was never designed for this amount of continuous noise, and slowly that overload is beginning to show everywhere. In anxiety, in exhaustion, in irritability, in emotional instability, in poor concentration, in relationship conflict, in burnout, in the ability to mentally switch off, because the modern brain rarely gets a moment of genuine stillness anymore. And without stillness, the nervous system never fully resets. What's happening now is that humans are living in a permanent state of low-level overstimulation, not necessarily dramatic stress, but constant micro-stress, tiny inputs, tiny interruptions, tiny emotional reactions, repeated all day long. And over time, those small interruptions begin exhausting the brain. It becomes harder to think clearly, harder to focus deeply, harder to emotionally regulate, which is why so many people now feel mentally scattered all the time. Not because they're weak, because their brain is overloaded. And the strange part is, many people have become so accustomed to noise that silence itself now feels uncomfortable. A quiet room feels strange. No phone feels strange. No stimulation feels strange. In fact, the nervous system has adopted to chaos. And when chaos becomes normal, peace can feel initially unfamiliar. And this is why many humans now struggle to truly rest. Even during downtime, the brain is still consuming, watching, scrolling, listening, reacting. Humans are rarely doing nothing anymore. There is always input entering the system, and biologically, the brain pays a price for that, because the brain was designed for rhythm, periods of activity, followed by periods of recovery. Modern life has disrupted that rhythm completely. Now it's stimulation from morning until night, and the brain never fully powers down. This is also changing human relationships, because overstimulated humans become emotionally reactive humans. Patience decreases, attention spans shorten, tolerance lowers, communication weakens. People become mentally exhausted before they even enter conversations with one another. And then relationships begin carrying the overflow of nervous system fatigue. Small issues become big arguments. Misunderstandings escalate quickly. Emotional regulation weakens. Not always because love is absent, but because the nervous system is overwhelmed. And social media has amplified this dramatically. Humans are now absorbing hundreds of emotional inputs every single day. Fear, outrage, comparison, conflict, attention-seeking, validation-seeking, dopamine spikes. The brain is processing more human information in one day than previous generations likely processed in weeks. And yet, very few people stop and ask, what is this doing to my nervous system? Because the consequences are subtle at first. Difficulty concentrating, restlessness, mental fatigue, emotional numbness, poor sleep, anxiety, low frustration tolerance. Then eventually, the brain begins craving stimulation while simultaneously being exhausted by it, which creates a very strange modern condition. Humans feeling unable to switch off, while also feeling completely burnt out. And this is where many people now live psychologically: mentally busy, emotionally tired, physically wired, unable to settle. The modern world rewards constant engagement, but the nervous system requires recovery. That is the contradiction. And perhaps this is why silence has become so important now, because silence is no longer simply silence. Silence has become medicine for the modern brain, a nervous system reset, a return to baseline, the absence of constant demand. And yet many people avoid it completely, because when the noise disappears, the thoughts become louder, the emotions become clearer, unresolved things surface. And many humans have unknowingly built lives designed to avoid internal discomfort. So instead of stillness, they choose stimulation again and again and again. But overstimulation never creates peace. It only delays exhaustion. And perhaps this is one of the greatest misunderstandings of modern life. Humans keep trying to solve mental overwhelm with more input, more advice, more content, more videos, more information, more noise, when in reality, the brain may simply need less stimulation, less comparison, less interruption, less chaos, and more space, more slowness, more silence. Because clarity rarely arrives in noise. It arrives after the noise settles. And perhaps the future will not belong to the humans consuming the most, but to the humans who learn how to protect their nervous system from constant overload. The ones who understand that peace is not laziness, stillness is not failure, and silence is not emptiness. It's recovery. Because the human brain was never built for constant noise. And the further modern life moves into overstimulation, the more valuable calmness will become.